Congresswoman Rice, I mean, when you heard this idea float, I mean, when we were on the air when this story broke in the Washington Post last night, at first, Max Boot, the person I was with, thought it was a spoof from The Onion, like sort of, it just seemed so outrageous. And then, you know, first to have the White House come out and say, oh, no, this was just nothing. And then the president comes out and doubles down on it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's just so horrible to hear the president talk about these people the way that he does. Like, drop in these cities all over the country when all he has to do is really look no further than Mar-a-Lago for hardworking people who came here for a better life. He knows them. He's hired them.
He's been hiring them for years.
He's been hiring them for years. It's just a terrible, but this is the way he talks, Anderson, about this issue. And it's no surprise, it's going into his reelection. The one issue that really fires up his base is to talk about immigration.
So do you think this is even, I mean, there's no, I imagine, I mean, legally, I don't think this can be done. The Department of Homeland Security pushed back on this. Do you think this is just something where he can say, look, I wanted to dump them in sanctuary cities for his base? Or do you think he actually wanted this to happen?
Well, I think a lot of these ideas that he comes up with are really the brainchild of Stephen Miller. And one of the things that I have a problem with is you have this White House figure, Stephen Miller, who has come up with all of the policy proposals that have been shot down by courts as illegal and against the law. And he is basically the de facto head of the Department of Homeland Security right now. And yet he's unanswerable. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Stephen Miller cannot decide what the policies are going to be at the Department of Homeland Security and then hide behind executive privilege saying, no, I'm just a White House employee, so that he can't be held accountable. He needs to come before Congress, and I'm going to work with the Homeland Security Committee, which I sit on, to see if we can get him to come and answer these questions, because these policies are, even people in the Department of Homeland Security are saying, we are not going to do these policies because they're illegal.
Jake Tapper tonight reporting that the president told the head of the Customs and Border Protection when he was down by the border a couple days ago that if he followed through and didn't allow people in the country, told them we're full, that he would pardon the head of Customs and Border Protection if he got in trouble for it.
Well, first of all,
whether it's a joke, we don't know if it was said jokingly or not.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, we've been hearing for the past 2 years that he's been talking to people from Michael Cohen to Michael Flynn about pardoning them. But I can tell you that Homeland Security is going to call McAleenan to come testify before them, and that's going to be the first question I ask him. It's great, you know, it's all great to talk about, you know, the president asked this question, but I want to know what McAleenan said. Is he going to be willing to put this policy in place that he knows is illegal and is going to put his officers at risk of personal responsibility for carrying out these policies?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just going back to the idea of busing, you know, arresting people at a border and then putting them on buses and sending them to San Francisco so they can be dropped off in Nancy Pelosi's district.
Yeah.
I mean, again, these are human beings we are talking about. This is not, you know.
Anderson, I was at the border last weekend in El Paso and in McAllen, and there are women and children being held in cages. I held a 2-month-old baby. There was a woman who had just given birth 2 days before, a 2-day-old baby who's an American citizen being held in a cage on the border. I mean, this is just as un-American as you get.
Congresswoman Rice, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anderson.